Hello. Hi. Um, Hi, Nidhi.
Hi.
So, welcome all to the Now Climate Connect series. This is the first of many conversations that we have planned to bring to you. In conversation with me today is Nidhi Mathur. Nidhi is the present venture partner at Axilor Labs and also and was the co-founder of Niramai. So we have a very interesting conversation planned, and you please feel free to post questions. We can take them as we go. And just to let everyone know that this is a recorded session. Um, so you will be able to. Yeah. So hi Nidhi, welcome. So nice to have you on our first ever series where we talk about venture studios.
Thanks. It's a matter of great privilege to be the first co-host or co-participant with you on this first ever. I wish and hope you guys have many such and even bigger milestones. All the best and happy to be here. Happy to be taking any questions from the Now team or for any of the participants.
Yeah. Thank you. So let's dive deep into for one of the most successful stories India ever heard, which is Niramai, right? Niramai is the non-invasive breast cancer screening solution. So take us through your entrepreneurial journey and your learnings and anything that you think is relevant for us to know.
Yeah. Nirame, with Nirame, that I turned like the first time entrepreneur, worked in corporate before that, had no experience doing startup outside, right? I had taken multiple technologies to successful businesses, but all inside. So inside the corporate, sometimes we don't realize how much support we have in terms of there's an existing sales machinery, there is an existing legal structure, there are a lot of support that we get without even knowing. But when you jump out and we are trying to do something on your own, of course, we are very excited about the idea, right? I mean, we have an idea, we think we will change the world. But the ground reality then hits us, and we realize there are a lot of things on the ground that we have to do for us to be able to take the idea forward.
Yeah.
So that's what happened to us. But we got a lot of help along the way. Other thing that happened was when we launched Nirame, AI was a very new technology, right? Deep tech startups were very few. We started out with 10 patents, and very few patented technology based startups were there in India. So the understanding of the environment was very low. And fortunately, that has changed a great deal today. It's no longer something that people question what it is about. We used to get asked in every conversation, oh, AI means you will take away jobs, right?
Yeah.
So that's the level of understanding. And I hope and believe we have many entrepreneurs in the our ecosystem today who are similarly doing things which are first time going to happen in the world through their ideas, right? So when you're doing like that, the world can be a very confusing place. So one thing that I summarize my journey as an entrepreneur as, it's a journey with high highs and low lows.
Mm.
You will continuously
Yeah.
hit milestones which are higher than what you ever imagined, and you will encounter times that will make you question your choices, that will make you feel confused more than you ever imagined. So it's that kind of a journey. And if there is an advice I can give to anybody who is looking out to set out on the journey, is build a good support system around you,
Yeah.
right? The support system could be your co-founder, your family, of course, but also I think it's a good idea to be actively involved in the community and the ecosystem. And I think that's, if there's any takeaway from trying to do things which are being done for the first time, it is to have support system. Don't try to do this all alone. There is enough help available. I got a lot of help in my journey, and I'm here today because I hope I can pay it forward.
Yeah, love that we're kickstarting the session with like such good advice from you, and I'm sure a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs have joined this conversation or will watch this eventually. So I'm like, I want to also understand, right, why you went from what was the jump from being an entrepreneur to going into the whole venture building phase? What made you take that decision, and what are some learnings you had along the way?
So this decision actually came because there was a very nice intersection between the learnings I had as an entrepreneur and the journey that Axilor was on, right? So Axilor started out as an accelerator. It was for 2 years in the row. It won awards for being the best accelerator in the country. It was a really well-run accelerator. In fact, Nirame was a part of Axilor Accelerator as well during our early days. Our first few months, actually, we spent in Axilor offices, working with Axilor on figuring out various aspects of our own business. From my point, I reached a point where I realized that there are a lot of replicable skills of building a deep tech business, right? Which a lot of times, a lot of entrepreneurs struggle to build, right? Everybody encounters the same set of challenges. So there is a lot of things that can be done, which doesn't get done, right? A lot of help doesn't come as easily, and everybody sets out on the journey alone and makes the same set of mistakes every single time. And I was excited about what I learned building the 0 to 1 business inside Nirame, right? We started out with few patents, something that worked only on laptop. And in next few years, we built something that nearly 3 dozen hospitals in the country were using. We have by now screened lakhs of women who otherwise would have probably not gotten the care that they need. So that's the kind of thing we have been able to achieve, but a lot of learnings, and I hoped to disseminate it faster. Axilor, on the other hand, while Accelerator benefited a lot of startups that went under the umbrella, they realized that if they need to support ideas which are even earlier in the phase than what an accelerator can support, right? Because when does an accelerator come in? Think about it. An accelerator makes a lot of sense. By definition, it accelerates things, which means some things have to be in the motion.
Yeah.
Right? There are certain things that the startup would have figured out. There would be certain things in motion. There are certain assumptions that would have been validated. There would be some initial traction. And an accelerator in a short period of 3 to 6 months can help you get to a certain milestones either faster or hit a higher milestone. Yeah. But for a deep tech startup, for the startup which really can change the world kind of a startup, the journey from idea to getting to the point of early traction also is fraught with a lot of challenges. Yeah. And those are also challenges which a VC would want the startup to resolve, because that's not the kind they are in a business of taking, right? They take certain kind of risk. Yeah. A growth stage VC will take a scaling risk, right? Early stage VC will take the market risk, right? They will take the risk that you will be able to get to kind of a faster, better model, playbook, which is replicable, etc. But deep tech startups would need somebody who can come and support them when they have not figured out what that initial set of customers, users, market is going to look like, right? And Axilor wanted to see how they can support ideas which are grounded in IP, right? Which are very impactful, specifically in the area of human health, because that was the impact area of our choice. And at the same time, despite all the stellar qualities of a potentially great startup, not at a stage where VCs can today go and invest in them. So how do you take a great idea to becoming an investable idea? Right. So that's where we came together, and we started something that we call Axilor Labs. So Axilor Lab is our venture builder unit. We start engaging with researchers who may be in academia, maybe in corporate, maybe in startup, but who are working on an idea at a very, very early stage, right? At a stage where an accelerator doesn't make sense, a VC doesn't make sense, maybe qualified for grant money from government various schemes, may not be qualified past the stage sometimes. So there is a gap in there that we wanted to fulfill to make sure these ideas have a life. Yeah. They can get to a point where they become investable great startups. Yeah. So that's the kind of a journey we all went through. And today at Axilor Lab, we are looking at opportunities and ideas, which, like I mentioned, IP-based, highly impactful, and focus area remains around human health. So we have been kind of doing that work as of now. That has been what we have been doing. Yeah.
I mean, which sort of segues into um, me wanting to know from you what kind of entrepreneurs should look at venture studios or venture building opportunities besides acceleration and incubators, because they do also add to the ecosystem. But
Yes.
how is a venture studio or a venture builder concept different?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, right, where accelerator makes sense for an entrepreneur, where you have an initial traction. You have already reached a point, you have figured out who your customers are.
Yeah.
Probably you would have figured out your pricing model, etc. But there are some growth strategies that may be new to you, but a good accelerator will be able to help you with that and will help you grow faster than you otherwise will. Uh, Incubators come around the same stage, little earlier than that, right? Essentially, they provide you, in addition to what an accelerator provides, which is mentoring, guidance, etc., they also provides you with some infrastructural support. That's usually a distinction that you will see between incubator and an accelerator. Incubators sometimes also come at a pre-revenue stage because they also help you build the early prototype as well, right? So that's where they come in. A venture studio, on the other hand, in my experience, right, and I have done some studies of how globally it has worked out. Actually, if you look at it, there are two categories of ideas where venture studios have been successful in helping an entrepreneur, right? So one is a venture builder makes sense is very like figured out playbook, very rapidly you can execute, very rapidly you can test whether this will work or this will fail. So for example, e-commerce ideas, right? So very well known venture builder in that area is, I'll take an example which in India is also well known, right, which is Rocket Internet. We have probably heard of Rocket Internets, right? They were called the copycats of the world. So a model has been figured out, you know exactly the template, you just keep replicating it, right? So those venture builders are good if the game is well understood and the entire basically what needs to be done now is the execution. Very quickly execute.
Yeah.
That's one area. The other area, interestingly, is the exact other extreme, which is where nothing is understood, right? Which is where I believe deep tech comes in, which is why I believe climate is one of those areas where a lot is happening in the world now. A lot is changing in the world now, be it from a policy perspective, be it from a technology evolution perspective, be it in terms of rapidly changing customer preferences, right? And a great, I would say, ground level force acting where everybody is in their individual capacity wanting to contribute and supporting these technologies. So there are a lot of these factors that are coming in together.
Yeah.
Is making this area move really, really fast. Technology is evolving very, very fast, right? But at the same time, if you look at any individual idea level, all good climate tech companies that are grounded in, like, I'm not talking about, I will do a fleet of electric vehicles, right? The next person comes and says, I will do a fleet of EV trucks. Third person comes, I will do a fleet of EV bus. I'm not talking about those ideas. But if you're fundamentally making a large difference and doing an impactful fundamental science kind of an idea, the gestation periods remain very, very long.
Yeah.
I believe that's another category where a venture builder plays a great role, because that's the kind of risk that no one else in the ecosystem takes, but venture builders. Yeah. Right? So if somebody is taking that kind of a risk, venture builders are great partners to those people.
Yeah, I mean, as like founder of Now, and because we're new, there's a lot of conversation that I'm overhearing when I meet people, right? They're always like, oh, do you think a venture studio is really looking at making an impact, or do you think you all are chasing a latest thing in the market, right, where everyone's talking about it? So are you doing this for that purpose? What would you say to those people who are still skeptical about the concept of a venture studio in general?
So one thing that a good venture studio does well is opportunity identification.
Yeah.
So because it is a good opportunity, I think the argument should be reverse.
Yeah.
The argument should be, if you also believe it's a great opportunity, then you should basically give credit to the venture builder studio that they are good at identification of opportunity, because as a startup, that's what you would want. You would want somebody who is, right now, they would have done it at a macro scale, but then you will have to do it at a micro scale for a specific idea, right? So just because it's a great opportunity, I don't think that builds a case that a venture studio should not do it. Actually, I think it's the other way around. If it's a great opportunity, then there is a good reason for there to be a venture studio around it.
Yeah. And also the fact that, say we are sustainability and climate tech focused, right? So a large pool of mentors that we are building is focused on these subject matters. And these are people who have had experience or success in the past where they have exhibited this kind of expertise. And then we sort of, I think venture studios become those curated one place, one stop for people who are focused on building a certain kind of a business. And so entrepreneurs who are looking to build climate or sustainability have to look for venture builders that are focused on this, or if it's more deep science focus, they can look at those that. So I feel like that's the general offering that we bring to the table.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So going to the next bit, right? So when you say, there's a lot of entrepreneurs also that I talk to, and they say, oh, but how can we trust someone with our IPs? And that's such a big conversation in venture building right now, where entrepreneurs are scared, or they don't want to trust. They think venture studios are trying to take away a part of what they are. What is your take on that?
Yeah. So I have worked with IP rights a large part of my career. The fact that I worked with research labs earlier, built IP-based businesses. Now I'm on to my fourth IP-based business, right? It's a dilemma entrepreneurs face, which is not specific to venture builder, by the way. I have heard various researchers, entrepreneurs, innovators have the exact same concerns when sharing their ideas with a VC as well. And the argument across the board remains the same, right? If your idea is so weak that by telling about your idea, somebody can replicate it, then it says something about the quality of your IP, right? Right? I mean, for example, then by that logic, I shouldn't be coming here and talking about what I have learned, because then by listening, if you will come and take away my job, then certainly I have not done anything in life. So it is not like that, right? People cannot just hear about your ideas and steal your IP. Point number one, right? Point number two, you should also look at what the other person is in a business of doing.
Yeah.
Right? So VCs or accelerators or venture studios, they're not in a business of taking your ideas, because they are not scientists or they don't have the same profile. So I keep telling everyone, I'm not an innovator.
Yeah.
My job is to identify great innovators and work with them, right? As against that, if I try to be an innovator myself, I will take many years being that. But that's not been the profession of my choice. So one, if you're overly concerned, please protect your IP. Protecting IP is not very difficult. If you find a good law firm, Startup India has a lot of programs that offer a lot of discount and subsidies, etc., for IP filing. Please avail those resources. You can go to Startup India website. They are very easily available. All this information is very widely shared. Protect your IP before you speak. That's also perfectly acceptable way of proceeding if you are overly concerned, right? So do that, but please realize, if you want ecosystem support from venture builder, accelerator, accelerator, incubator, VCs, if they are investing their time and money into you, they won't be able to do that till the time they understand what is valuable in your idea, right? That is my advice number one. Be a little open, protect if you need to, but please understand, they are not trying to steal your IP. I have seen this concern floating, but I have not encountered a single instance where I have seen this happen. My point number two, like with late stage ideas, even in early stage, the onus of explaining your IP in a way that you communicate the value without communicating the secret sauce is on you, right?
Yes.
It is entirely possible for you to use some proxies, kind of a thing, but still communicate, because otherwise, how will the other person make the decision, right? So you should be able to get the excitement across, get the value across, right? Without revealing the secret, because you would be required to do it in front of your customers tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's a good practice session to be able to do that. I have also encountered innovators who make very tall claims about how great their IP and don't want to share a thing about the IP.
Yeah.
Right? My obvious decision is a pass.
Yeah.
Not because I think their idea is not good, but I cannot take a call. Think about it, right? So I'll give an example. Sorry,
Yeah, please.
I can digress, right? When I was still working with corporates, I used to run innovation workshops. So I once ran a workshop where I took an envelope and I said, I have $1 billion idea inside this envelope. Let's start the bidding,
Yeah.
right? And I started the bidding at some 500 rupee or something. Guess what was the highest bidding? Nobody bid.
Oh.
Nobody bid. No, but that's human logic, right? Just because I say in this envelope I have $1 billion idea, nobody's going to give me 500 rupees even. Forget $1 billion.
Yeah.
Nobody will give me 500 rupees, right?
Yeah.
People, I mean, would you give me 500 rupees if I just show you an envelope and say that there is $1 billion idea, right? So we have to think like that. We may really have a great idea, but nobody is going to be able to put money on that idea till they understand what that idea is, right? So either you protect and then share, or you figure out a way to share the value and the novelty without revealing the secret sauce.
Yeah. Yeah. So that leads me to come to the point where, a lot of speculation and debate and conversations people have with me are, but how can venture studios the whole idea of them being co-founders, and so what do you have to say about the concept of venture studios coming into, or I always say we're getting skin in the game, right, by being co-founders, but what's your answer? I'd love to hear that.
Yeah. So we have done two models. One is where we are co-founders, yes, and we have also done models where we are the founders.
Yeah.
In the sense, we have started the companies, we have identified opportunities, identified IP, started the companies, bought the IP, got the co-founders onboarded, etc. Right? So we literally have started most of the companies that we have built. But we have also done the model where we have been the co-founders. And the skepticism is right? For example, if I put myself in the shoe of a founder, it is really a tough call because choosing your co-founder, I very often say, is like deciding whom to marry. You should exercise, right? I mean, that's the right thing to do, to exercise the same amount of thought. You put in the same amount of thought as you will put in your marriage into choosing your co-founder. There's nothing wrong in that. But also go in with an open mind, right? Like a venture studio will evaluate you, there's absolutely nothing wrong with a founder wanting to think whether the venture studio is the right partner for you. Yeah. Do those diligences, but it's a fairly successful model. It has worked well for both venture studios and founders across the globe. So it is not a model that doesn't work. You have to just figure out whether that's the right model for you and whether the venture studio that you are selecting is the right venture studio for you. But inherently, it doesn't say anything against the fundamental merit of the model itself. The model has a lot of merit. You have to, of course, do your own thinking.
Yeah. So then you also have to, as an entrepreneur, when you're looking at venture studios, you should look at who are the people on the team, what are the shared services or services that they're bringing to you to support you. Like an example would, because you were saying IPs, right? Imagine as an entrepreneur, do you want to build the product that you're building, or do you want to be filing and learning about IPs, right? Venture studio will get you a team that they will, as co-founders, help you build your IP, right? And then also some would also bring in some fund or money in whatever capacity. So I feel like just look at your product that you want to build and look at the studio. It has to be the right fit. Just like product market fit is is a decision you need to make. Also, studio entrepreneur fit is something we should look at, right?
Absolutely.
So taking this conversation slightly towards, you know, um, my new favorite word, which is ecopreneurs, right? A lot of businesses today are talking about, even big businesses,
Yeah.
old businesses are pivoting towards being more sustainable, right? So why not enable the new entrepreneurs, or why should the new entrepreneurs not think about creating eco businesses that are impactful and um, climate friendly? So what are some of the challenges do you think that they may face? And then we'll go from there.
Sure, sure. By the way, agree with you that it should be a match, it should be treated like a matchmaking, and people should ask the questions about what value they are going to get, right? Instead of assuming one way or the other.
Yeah.
Right. So that's I would fully support that. And coming back to the question that you asked about challenges faced by ecopreneurs, actually quite a few, right? Despite what I said initially, that there are tailwinds that support building climate tech businesses today, it still remains a tough one, right? Because, like I said, the environment is rapidly changing, which means the competition is intense, the competition is evolving, and you don't know who is doing what, right? Tomorrow, who can come and overtake by completely new to the world technology that you have not anticipated. So you have to be always on your toes. It's exciting. I think as a founder, I find that exciting. I would rather be in an area where there is a lot of exciting things happening than be in an area where nothing is happening.
Yeah.
But that's up to different people. Also, what is happening is while there is a lot of lip service being given to eco initiatives, right? When the time comes to vote with your wallet, we realize that not as many people who are making noise end up being our customers. So there are some of those challenges, but I would say they are no different than challenges that we face across other sectors as well. These things happen in other sectors as well, right? So fundamentally, a lot of challenges will remain the same, and there is nothing that should dissuade us from doing this. It's for a founder, fundamentally, it's about what excites you. What are you passionate about? If you are passionate about making a difference to the world around us, climate tech remains a great sector to focus your energies on. But there are challenges to building a business in any area, and there will be challenges to building a business in climate tech. If we are really motivated, we will find a way to solve them.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, some of the larger issues may be like regulatory compliances may not be too clear on what to do, but also we are seeing the world around us change. We are experiencing microclimates. We are, wearing sweater to work one day, and there is no need to wear one the next day, right? So we are like in the middle of it. We are experiencing it. So it is a definite challenge. And can it be fixed? Yes. How can it be fixed? We should all think differently, because small steps make systemic changes, right? So we can all together as a community look at it that way, and then we'll see how that evolves. And by then, hopefully, there'll be enough regulation to sort of help enable us faster and better. So coming to a more like India-specific conversation, right? What can the Indian ecosystem do and offer to support entrepreneurs, accelerate their journey better, faster?
Yeah, that's always a tricky one, right? That's always a difficult question to answer. Also, because in climate, a lot of action is happening because of the compliance requirements, right? Given absolute complete freedom of choice, people will make choices which are a little bit more selfish, right? So, for example, assuming there were no taxes, etc., right? There were no levies, and petrol and diesel, etc., did not become expensive the way they did. The EV adoption would probably not have been what it is today, right? Because petrol went out of reach above 100 and all, people suddenly woke up to the fact that, oh, this is a resource we cannot rely on. But there was a policy action that triggered the adoption or accelerated the adoption. Likewise, we all know about EU carbon tax. So suddenly, the chemical industry, which did not change for many decades, is suddenly talking about green chemicals, right? So a lot of action that we are seeing is policy driven. That I think the push, all said and done, India has been doing a lot in that direction, and a lot more can be done. So that's one. One grievance, if I can call it, that I have with policy is a lot of it favors large incumbents and less so smaller startups. So on my wish list is policy environment that is favorable to new innovations and not just large incumbents. So that's another thing about the ecosystem that needs to happen. Positive thing that I'm seeing in this ecosystem is there is a lot of community building today.
Yeah.
Right? If you are doing something, you are not doing this alone. You have enough like-minded people, which you can and should kind of network with, hear their stories, tell your stories, and we all will get better by this interaction. So that's something in the ecosystem. And then a lot of support infrastructure is coming in, right? A lot of labs are getting set up. Now Venture Studio is an example of the kind of support infrastructure that's coming in. So that's all that is good, positive. And always your sector being a focus of attention is good. So right now, climate tech is in the eye of the storm, as well as all the spotlights are on climate tech. So it's a good place to be in, definitely.
Yeah.
The same thing if you're doing 20 years back. So look at some of the more successful climate tech startups today, right? They have spent, some of the ones that I respect, have spent even 20 years getting to where they have gotten to now.
Yeah.
If you are a person, I mean, if they started out the same work today instead of starting 20 years earlier, they will get to the same point in like probably 1/4 the time, right? That again makes it a good time to start today as against what it would have been 20 years back. So I think all this development of ecosystem is good, and it is really favorable for people who are starting out now. They would save on a long gestation time. They're in a it's a right place and a right time.
Yeah. And I think like broadly collaboration is key, and all stakeholders have to participate in it. So the government policies for sure, corporates have to enable us, like capital has to be driven into climate so fast, because what the earth is going through is so the impact is so big that changes have to happen quickly, right? So then coming to the point of tech, right? How much do you think deep tech or tech in general can enable like equity inclusion for like these marginalized communities and expediting these solutions?
So I have spent most of my time working on health, right? So I have seen, and I think the world has now seen how access to health, I mean, it reached the communities it never reached before, right? Including, even if I don't take examples of things that I have seen firsthand, like we know about drones that are delivering medicines in remote areas, right? I mean, I'm just saying across technologies, we are finding applications which are truly enabling work that was erstwhile not possible. We are working on, through Axilor Lab funded startups, we are looking at a lot of life-saving tests, for example. How do you make them available at 1/10 of the cost, right? Some of those tests are life-threatening, but they don't get done in India, primarily because 99% of our population cannot afford it even, right? So I think some of those things, there is a parallel to what is happening in the health tech world today, to what is going to happen to the climate tech tomorrow.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely is going to improve accessibility to this. It's apart from accessibility, I think we have to also, if we rely on very few people, the impact is going to be very concentrated. To give you an example, if we are only building solutions for large factories, right? Yes, they are heavy polluters, but definitely, if I'm sitting in Delhi, let's say, I am feeling that impact, right? And I can't wait for every factory to become compliant and change everything. So we need a lot of solutions, a lot of technologies that can impact things at various scales and for various form factors or and various kind of environmental impact that we are seeing. So I think it will have to be more democratized, and I remain always a big believer in startups' ability to do that.
And like the ability to make this faster, cheaper, and better, right? The adoption rate. So I feel like there is nothing that can do what tech can do on ground and change the reality, right? So I just want to tell the rest of the audience that you can post your questions in the chat now. And so there is a question already. Someone is asking, will venture studios help me raise funds after I exit from the studio? So that question to you, Nidhi.
I think it's a question to both of us because both of us represent two different venture studios. We can talk about that. I'll talk about Axilor specifically. So Axilor is a fund. It's a venture studio by a fund, which means when the only company in Axilor Lab are companies that Axilor has and will fund. Globally, if you see, a venture studio provides 12 to 24 months of runway to an idea, right? So I think the question should be framed a little differently. It's not exit a venture studio, exit a studio as in you usually talk about exit. If you are in an accelerator program, you have completed the program and you exit from the program. So I don't think that that's a right framework to apply to a venture studio because a good venture studio will also fund, right? So once they have funded, they are your investors as well.
Yes.
So, for example, Axilor Ventures is an investor in all Axilor companies. And like any other VC, they are on the cap table and they will exit like normal VCs do.
So, I mean, for us, it's a slightly different model where we are independently funded, and we will come in as co-founders and help build the venture, right? And then eventually, we will also have further funding from our partner VCs or anchor VCs that we work with. So that's broadly our model. So the next, there's another question that came up that says, what's the unique process that venture studios have to de-risk the idea that founders can't do?
Yeah.
I'll
reply with my model, and Gayathri, I think we can follow this thing, right? That you give them specific to now what the process or what the this thing is going to be. So Axilor Lab, what founders can do. So Axilor Lab, we specifically work with a lot of our founders are academic researchers, right? They are really, really good at innovating in a way that very few, I mean, most of the people that we have worked with are world-class researchers, right? We can't do what they do, but at the same time, they have this unique strength to innovate, but ability to go sit in front of customer, go through the sales process, understand who will buy, why, how much, at what price, under what conditions, in what model. That's not their biggest strength. So it's not like they can't do. Right? I think founders are very capable people, but it's about where you want to focus your energies. So most of the founders that we work with are really deep in their thinking, are really deep in their domain, but that's not something that excites them, right? Going and working it out with customers, etc. It's not the most exciting thing for them, and it works great between two of us. Gayathri, I'll let you elaborate on how now we'll do this thing for the founders.
Like good founders will build anyway, right? But why should you be with a studio is we are focused on a certain area. So for now it is climate and sustainability. So the expertise and the mentors and the I feel like the shared services that we bring to the table would allow an entrepreneur to sort of do what they want to do or innovate on the product or service that they are working on. We will be there partner that, like you said, I think at that part we're kind of similar, right? Where we will look at someone not only at idea stage, slightly more than idea also we want to work with, and we want to offer each entrepreneur or each idea that comes work with us their own unique set of offerings. It's not, I mean, that's how we're also different from accelerators, incubators, where it's a little bit more boutique and custom to the need that the entrepreneurs have or the idea that it is. So that's broadly what I would say. More questions coming in. What is, okay, so we have a question that goes back, way back, where maybe I should have asked earlier, is what are the key differentiators of venture studios from incubators and accelerators?
Yeah. So globally, if you see most successful venture studios, the key difference I see is they come in at a discovery phase.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, the incubator and accelerators come a little later, where some of the assumptions have been validated about the product. In most cases, when you at least have a MVP, be it incubator, be it an accelerator, they want you to be at an MVP stage to the very least, for you to know your customers, your use case, your go-to-market, your pricing model, etc. Right? Venture studio usually come much earlier. They come at an opportunity identification phase, at an idea generation phase. So they come like way earlier. The biggest differentiator is in terms of stages that they come in.
Yeah. And
I can probably answer the next question because that's a quick one and I have my favorite, so I can probably do that. So the question that I want to take up is, do you have any big spin-off or good startup from studio in global or India? In India, it's a really young model, right? I think we were the first one. There are one or two more that have come up in last few years. But global, it has existed for 2 decades now. And one of my favorite example, and I think all of you will know the name, which is why I'm picking that up, is Moderna. Moderna has come out of a venture studio, right? So the venture studio's name is Flagship Pioneering. This idea, this research happened inside Flagship, spun out of Flagship as Moderna. Flagship funded it for a really long time, right? And after that, they have raised money from outside, gone public, and today they are a household name. So I think that's the best example I have. And Gayatri, if you have another one, you can probably add that as well.
Yeah, I feel like that one's the best one, and so we'll keep answering all these questions that are coming in. So the question is, how startup innovators being strong in tech know-how learn to understand doing business, that is entrepreneurship skills, what are critical for successful startup journey? I don't know how
startup innovator being strong in technology and learn to understand. This is actually a very interesting question, and I have been working with, like I mentioned, right, innovators who are super duper strong. There are 2 ways we can look at this, right? There is an approach that accelerators, etc., take, which basically means they will put you through some mentoring sessions. They will put you through some program where there will be some classrooms, probably some tests, etc., and they will believe that you will come out knowing everything at the end of it. I think the model that we have taken, which I believe is a good one, at least that has worked for us so far, is we don't say that we will train you and you will be able to do it. We say we will sit, we will figure it out, we will make this happen. We will work on first few customers, we will work on the playbook, we will work on everything together. And the innovators that we work with are fundamentally really intelligent people. It is just that they have focused their intelligence in one direction and not in the other direction. But I don't think classroom coaching or a couple of sessions will cut it, right? But once they do it with us together for 2-3 years, I have seen them scale up really rapidly. And today I sit in some of the conversation with the same innovator, and I come out of that session not having spoken a word because there was no need. The founder himself or herself knows everything by now, right? But it has been more of like hand-holding, working together and getting to that point, which I don't think is 3 to 6 month programs do. Yeah. But there is an audience for that. There are people who prefer that. But yeah, different things work for different people.
Yeah, I mean, I can take the next question. It says, what stage should an entrepreneur look to join the venture studio? Idea I mean, what stage is, see, venture studios, you can come with an idea and the studio helps you build the product. Or sometimes the studio has an idea and they will build the product and they will still take in an entrepreneur who can sort of lead that project. And it could be and because studio, like Nidhi said, is pretty early on. And so it, can come in with an idea or a prototype, and then I think that's a good phase for entrepreneurs to start exploring venture studios. Someone says, what do studios have to offer serial entrepreneurs? Maybe you want to take that, or maybe
Yeah.
there's entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Yeah. So like we were talking about it earlier, right? It's a match. It has to work out for both people. If you are a serial entrepreneur, if you think you are ready to go and secure funding, etc., by all means you should. Right? We are not saying everybody has to join a venture studio, right? We are saying certain people who are at a certain stage and it makes sense for them, they should consider that. But if somebody feel that they have learned whatever is there to be learned, I think the proof will be in the pudding, right? If they need the funding, they should be able to secure it and they will be able to skip this entire phase. They may not need any incubator, accelerator, venture studio, anything at all. That's entirely possible.
Yeah.
It all depends on what the entrepreneur is looking for.
Yeah. Adding to what you're saying, right? Another way that people can really look at this is, say, for example, you're a company that has a deep tech solution that you have been working on, and it's doing great. So, but then now you want to sort of go into a product. You realized, oh, you can create a custom product or something like that, and so you can be. It still can be the same company and the same product, but I mean, same company, and you're solving the same problem. But from a solution, you're going to a product phase. That's also something that studios could explore, but it's up to you. We are not saying, we are not discriminating what kind of an entrepreneur you are. Whoever you are, if you want to look at a venture studio, you can just always apply, and we are open to talking to you, right? We don't take offense in if you're a first, second, third, fourth time entrepreneur. We just want to enable a great solution and take it to market, right? That's my answer. And something for you now. How would VC studios like Axilor select their next venture?
Yeah, I think we can both reply for how Axilor Labs looks at their next venture and how you will look at that, right? So specifically for Axilor Lab, we don't work like VC. We don't say that it's open to applications and people to apply. We do our own assessment and we look at, again, like we said, climate is an opportunity, right? We look at what is the opportunity area where we believe high impact is getting created, as well as high on the commercial opportunity. And we usually go and we hand pick the top minds in that specific domain and invite them to come and be the co-founders in the venture that we are creating. Right. So we selected basis. This is an internal assessment. We are constantly scanning the opportunities that are of interest for us. And we are constantly generating these ideas, evaluating these ideas, and then kind of building these ventures. Don't do it very often. We do one venture in a year.
Yeah.
So we are highly selective. As against, I think now has a much more ambitious plans of how many ventures they are looking at supporting.
Yeah, I mean, we are new. So we have just opened our application process. So those that are interested, please log on to our website and you can apply. So we also have, what we do is we are also going to go through the whole series to see if it fits our thesis, if it fits our focus areas. And then we're going to meet with the entrepreneurs and then see who is the right fit for us, right? Because it's little bit like if you want to see if we are the fit for you, we also want to know if you're the right fit for us. It's a little bit like that. So we go through that, and then we are also thinking of building maybe 2 to 3 per year. I mean, of course, it's like that is the only difference. I guess you're doing 1 and we're doing 2 to 3. But yeah, so we are also new, we're learning, but we have a great set of people on our team who sort of can enable the ideas that that we work with. So we have one more question. This is the last question we'll take. After that, I have a surprise segment. The last question is Venture Studio 100% owned by the fund? Who has funded, and what is the I think it's the best model for Venture Studio.
I think they want to say business model.
Okay. Is Venture Studio 100% owned by the fund? Who has funded, and what is the business model for Venture Studio?
Yeah. So there are a number of business models that have existed across the globe, right? Yeah. People have tried a lot of different things. Like a startup making a decision, starting a venture studio also. A venture studio has to put in a lot of thought of how it is internally structured, right? Because think about it, how is it different from a VC? For a VC, the decision is really, really simple. You have a responsibility for everything, right? They are putting in money, they are taking in equity, and they just have to come and they have to ask you, did you make the progress as we agreed, right? As you had projected. As against that, venture studio is not that. Venture studio is taking a higher risk and higher equity. I'm saying this because this was also in a number of questions that we had to skip. So a venture studio will take higher equity than what a VC will take, for a simple reason that they have come in earlier and they have taken a higher risk as well. Some of that equity is towards the additional work venture studio is doing to make sure that you are successful, right? They have worked together with you, right? Like somebody said that, would you give a equity to a co-founder or a venture studio? That's up to you. But the point is, there is a certain amount of work, there is a certain co-ownership of responsibility that is there. And for that responsibility, there will be some equity carved out. The key thing in the structure is, where does that equity come from? And that's where a number of models have existed. Sometimes that is from the fund in some models, and that's a fund's internal decision based on their own internal requirements, compliances, etc., right? That's, I would say, not important for an entrepreneur to make that decision, because that is for them to satisfy whatever obligations they have from a legal and compliance side, right? So to give a quick answers, it is not necessary that a venture studio is 100% owned by a fund. There have been instances they have been jointly owned by a fund and another entity, because venture studio, think about it, apart from the money that they're putting in your company, a venture studio is also spending money supporting and providing various business support services. Now think about it, where that money is coming from, right? Some equity has to go there. Sometimes that money will come also from the fund. Sometimes that money may come from another entity. And depending on that, the equity distribution may happen.
Okay, so
put some monetary value, right? If you put a monetary value to support services, it becomes easier for people to think about where the equity is going.
Yeah, so that's the primary difference in the equity part for venture studios. Okay, so I want to segue into our last bit, which I want to call as quick questions. So you can answer in like one word or one sentence.
For me, I thought the surprise is we have some.
Okay. So we can keep it.
So that's a surprise for me now.
Yeah, surprise for you. So you can say one word or one sentence, or actually I'm pretty flexible however you want to answer this, right? So the first one is, can someone bring just an idea to a venture studio?
Yes.
Okay. Can venture studios create ideas and then onboard a team?
Yes.
Do you want to give an example?
In Axilor, that's, for example, we have a company from Axilor which is in the gut health space. So we were really passionate that we wanted to do something in the gut health. We identified what is plaguing this industry, which is basically very high cost of gut health, right? 15,000 rupees to get a gut health test. We said this industry will never take off. So we need a low cost solution. We didn't have anybody who came to us and said, I can build a low cost solution. So we made a list of all the leading gut experts in the country, went to each one of them and asked them, we believe this is a problem with this industry. Is there a way we can bring down the cost by 90%? And one by one, all 10 of them said no. But then a couple of months later, one of them called us back and said, you know what? I've been thinking about what you said. I think we can do something. And then today we have a great company to get started with them, right? So it started with us identifying the opportunity, right? Building a list of experts, building relationships with the experts, having the conversations with the experts, seeding the idea, right? And then gradually building that out. So that's an example where it started entirely from our side.
Yeah, that's amazing, actually. Three. I have only 5 questions. This is the third question. So, is collaboration key to solving problems?
Always true. Always true.
Yeah. What are 2 or 3 things one should look out for in a studio?
Yeah. I think, I mean, I'll take a longer answer for this if you permit, right? So, short answer, gaps that you have,
Yeah.
right? Which essentially means it involves a lot of introspection for you to decide what will it take for you to succeed. And then you should look for complementarity, whether a venture studio brings in what you lack and vice versa, then it's a winning combo.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say definitely look at the team that the venture studio has. If they have a fund, and what are the shared services, and if you're okay with the whole equity thing. So, really make it easy for both sides, because it has to be an informed decision. And last question, what is the one thing you want the audience to take away from our conversation today?
Yeah, I think people should keep an open mind. People should know that they have as much right to ask questions, right? So don't make a quick decision, ask questions,
Yeah.
figure out what is right. And obviously, goes without saying, do something that you are confident and happy with, because this is going to be a long journey together,
Yeah.
right? Don't get into this journey thinking that you have compromised something and, oh, I did not want to do this, but I did this, because it's going to be a long and tough journey. Entrepreneurship is a long and tough journey,
Yeah.
right? Start out on a good and a positive note, and that is going to see all of us through,
Yeah.
right? We don't get started. If you have questions in your head, ask.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
think that, believe it's not a good deal, ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would, just compliment that and say that you just reach out to us, come meet us, discuss, talk, see, just begin the conversation. And honestly, if it fits and works for both of us, only then will we both take the informed decision to move forward. So venture studios are new in India, but as a concept, they have existed for a really long time, and in different concepts like corporate venture studios, etc., which we will bring to you in our later conversations in the series with experts like Nidhi, who have been doing this for a really long time. And on that note, I want to say thank you, Nidhi, for taking time to enable us to learn more about what we do and what the studio concept is. And thank you all for taking time to join our conversation. This is also a recorded conversation, so you can always access it on our YouTube page.
Amazing. Thanks, Gayatri, for having me over.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.